Hello, this is Nicole Roche with the Digital Scholarship team at St. Lawrence University, and today I'm going to show you how to create a digital narrative. So here's what you'll need to get started. You'll need your SLU credentials to log into the digital narrative site at narratives.digital. You'll need access to your chosen media, images, audio, video, either locally on your computer or remotely via the cloud. I recommend gathering them in one folder for easy access. You'll need citation and caption information for all of your media and outside sources. I'll talk to you more about that in a minute. If available, your class rubric for the digital narrative assignment to make sure you've met all of your teacher's requirements. Under the resources tab, you can see we have a resource called Checklist that offers some suggested guidelines. And then lastly, a blueprint or outline for what you want the finished narrative to look like. So this could be with pen and paper, it could be any number of ways. I like to build it in Word and then paste it directly into the narrative as I'm building it. If you're struggling to think about how to focus your digital narrative, you might check out our topic lens page under the resources tab on our main site for ideas about how to present your topic, orally, temporally, spatially, etc. So every photo and other media will need a photo credit or media credit, who took the photo, where did this source come from, who published it, a caption, what does the image or piece of media capture or depict. You might think about including as concisely as possible the 5W and 1H, who, what, where, when, why, and how. And then you don't have to really have this prepped, but be aware that you will need to provide alternative text for your images, and that's just how you would describe the image for someone using a screen reader. It's also the text that would show up if there was some kind of error message with the display. Again, check with your professor if there are any preferred citation styles for the media that you'll be using on this project. So let's go ahead and head over to our digital narratives homepage here. This is the resources tab that I was telling you about. So we've got all of our different resources here. This is the topic lens page I was talking about. Resources to help you plan and build your narrative. I'm going to show you a couple that I think are particularly helpful. So this is under the guide. This will show you, once you get into the digital narratives platform, sort of how the web forms will look, some of the terms that are going to be used. Another one that I think will be useful for you is this one, Narrative Elements, which is going to show you how your narrative will look like when it's published, laid out online. So you can see here we've got our title, subtitle, byline. This is also cool because it shows you what you'll need to do when building the site to get the look that you want. So if you want an image off to the side like this or text off to the side, you'll need to include an aside and then bring in the media or text inside. And then here's another page element I'm going to show you how to design, and that is a breakout. And then within that, we've got what's called a double. And so that allows you to bring in these two columns here, either with media or text. This is the blueprint I made to help me plan to make the narrative I'm going to show you today. You can see it's pretty elaborate. That's just how I work. I like to know what's going where, and that way as I'm building it, I don't have to stop and write captions and figure out make all those decisions at once. So this gives you more control to kind of lay out things how you want them to look. So as you can see, it's pretty elaborate. But what's great about that then is when I'm ready to import it into the narrative, the text and images, I can copy and paste the text straight in. So I'm going to take us then to, if you go back to the narratives homepage here and click login, it'll bring you to this landing page here, your dashboard. So under my groups, you'll see your class name, and you'll just go ahead and create content. Then you'll click narrative. So this is the web form or series of web forms you'll be using to create your digital narrative. So again here, this is where it's nice to have, I can just bring this straight in, copying and pasting, and I've learned that it also copies and pastes hyperlinks, although you can also incorporate those in the web field here later. Authored by Nicole Roche. Okay. So your featured media is just going to be the image that's stretched across that banner image when someone first opens up your digital narrative. This is also the image that will appear as the thumbnail for your narrative and any other previews of your narrative. You want your featured media to be sort of, uncluttered, high resolution if possible. You also want to be something that really represents what your narrative is about. So go ahead and click Add Media. You'll want to be working from up here with Add File. So I'll show you how to do that. Choose File. Brings up my folder with all my images for my digital narrative here. I'm going to go with this image of my grandparents, these framed photographs. So here's where alternative text will pop up here and ask you for a short description of the image. So how would you describe the image if you closed your eyes and couldn't look at it? So framed photograph of my grandparents and uncle in 1949. Okay. This is my photograph, so I hold the copyright for that. If you want more information about images and citing them responsibly, both academically and legally, we do have a link under the resources tab on our main page about images and citing those. I have not asked my students to include a formal citation. I've asked them to include the citation in their photo caption, but again, you might want to check with your professor to see if a formal citation needs to be included with each photograph. So I'm going to go ahead and click Save and Insert. Scroll back up here. So this is asking me, see how that red asterisk is there? So go ahead and click on that. That means it's a required field anywhere. You see that on a web form here. Move this where you want the image to be cropped for that banner image. So that looks good. Save and insert. Great. So if your image is high resolution, good quality image, full width is what you'll want. If it's a lower resolution image, partial width might be a better choice. So let's go ahead and bring in that caption. Again, I've got it pre-written here. Don't have to do it that way, but I find that helpful. Okay. Scroll down here. If you don't have a featured media image, you'll choose a color for your background there. So let's go ahead and when you click save, let's save our progress, it also allows us to go ahead and view a preview of the changes we made. So you'll find yourself wanting to save often, so you can also check to see, how things are playing out. So that looks really great. We've got our title, subtitle, byline, featured media, and caption. So we can go back up and keep adding to it by clicking on Edit. So let's scroll down. So really there are two main components of the digital narrative. There's the page header, which is all the forms we just filled out to create everything up there at the top. And then there's everything after, and that's the main content section. And you're going to be building the majority of your site using various combinations of these different page elements and bringing them in one at a time. And so experimenting is great. I think what I'm going to do here is build for you this page to about, here with the timeline. And that'll allow me to show you a lot of the main features like asides and then the breakout and double. And then I can kind of stop the recording, finish out the narrative, and bring you back to see the finished product so you don't have to sit and watch me do the whole thing. Okay, so up next here we have, getting ahead of myself, a header. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, add heading, copy and paste that in. So you'll want to kind of maybe play around because depending on how you want your asides to interact with this body text here, you might want to try doing, one paragraph of, add text, bring in this paragraph, and then bring in an aside. So this is, kind of is inserted here, and then bring in the other body paragraphs. I've already sort of played around with this and found the combination I like, so I'm just going to go straight to that, but I do recommend experimenting The combination that worked the best for me was to go straight from the heading into add aside. And so in add aside, you can have a mini header, you can have media. I'm just going to have text in this one, and I'm going to do a block quote format here. So click on that. I'm going to copy and paste this as such. Yep. Take those off. Okay, and I'm going to want to go ahead and see here it says align to the right. That's what I wanted, so I'll just leave that be. Okay, so now I've got my heading, my aside. You might want to go ahead and save so you can preview that, but for time I'm just going to keep adding in some elements right here. So I'm going to go ahead and add text next. So again, the combination that worked best for me was to bring in little chunks of this body text at a time. Okay. And then I'm going to go ahead and bring in another aside next here. Because I want this image of the ring to be sort of folded in with the body text here. So I'm going to go ahead and, I know I'm going to need this, I'm going to grab it while I'm over here. Okay, so this time we're going to add media to the side. Okay, so add media. Again, you're going to pull from up here, but I've already uploaded the image, so I can go straight over here. And when you upload, that's when you enter the alternative text and the copyright information. Okay, then I can go ahead and insert my caption here, the photo credit. This time I want the display to be on the left. So I'll go ahead and switch that. Again, can save. Then I'm going to go ahead and add the last part of my body text here. Collapsing these can kind of help you see the different elements here. You don't have to collapse. Okay, so paste. You'll see the link did make it over here when pasting. Okay, so I've got my header, aside text, aside text. Let's go ahead and save this and see how it played out. Okay. Alright, so there's my aside. This is a little crowded, so I might kind of play around with my paragraphs again and my images to move this up a little bit. So I'll do that during the break. But you can see how this is snugged up real nicely here with the body text. Okay, so let's go back in. We'll just keep going on to the next element here, which is this breakout here. So I will show you how to create something very similar to this, okay, in the digital narrative. So for that, we're going to come over here and click Add Breakout. And that's what's going to create that box that stretches the width of the screen. We'll pick our background color, something that fits thematically, perhaps with the images, a nice sepia kind of tone there. So within the breakout, I want to be able to create this doubling effect here with the two columns. So I'm going to go ahead and add a double. So you add the breakout first, then the double. And then you'll have primary and secondary content here. And so this will be my primary, the first column, and this is secondary, the second column. So I've got media and text for both. So for the primary here, go ahead and add media. Add media. Again, I've already got it uploaded. You'll upload it there. There's Taylor Baines, my great-grandfather. Okay, caption. So in this case, I don't need a separate text field because this is the caption for the image, but I could have a caption for the image and then another paragraph underneath by adding text as well. Right here. Okay. In this case, I can just move on to my secondary content though. So add media. Image. So grab great-grandmother Nina Marie. Caption. Oops. Come here. Okay. That should be, so let's go ahead, definitely save now. Make sure we've got the look we want here. And there we are with our breakout and double with images and captions. Okay, so we're coming along nicely here. So I do want to show you real quick, my students are required to include a timeline or a story map, and those are both awesome features that you should consider bringing into your narrative, whether required or not. A timeline is going to arrange items temporally, and a story map is largely going to arrange them spatially, but story map's really cool and you can do a lot with that. The resources, again, will show you how to create a story map. So if you click there, it'll show you actually build a story map on an outside site and get an embed code that you then bring back into the site. So if a story map is something that you're going to include, there's a very helpful tutorial here, very easy, that shows you how to grab that embed code and then how to add it to your narrative by adding a text field, putting the embed code here, and then one thing you'll need to do is change the text format to iframe. So real quick, I'll show you this. Here's the site you'll come to, and this is what it looks like when you're building a story map on the story map site. Then when you're done with it, you can preview it here. You click share, there'll be a link for publishing it up here, but there's your embed code that you need to bring back in. But again, be sure to go back to that resources folder on story maps. There's also one on timeline tips and tricks. Real quick, I'll show you where to access that, where to build your timeline. A timeline is something you'll also build outside of the narrative itself, but it's something you'll build on the digital narrative site. So let me show you how you'll do that. So let's go back to my account, that dashboard there. So once you click create content, this is where you'll want to go when you're first creating a timeline. So you'll click here. Okay, you'll enter the name of the timeline, again, authored by, a quick summary of what the timeline is about. And then here's where you'll add your different timeline slides. Okay, and you'll need to build those. Oops, let's do this instead. You'll build those here under timeline slide. Okay, so each slide for the timeline is built here. So you'll have your dates for the timeline, text. It looks really great if you can insert media here. It just makes it that much more immersive of an experience. And that can be images, maps are really cool, or, like audio or video. Geolocation, you can put in a cool background color. Okay. And so then once you get to, you know, the point where you're ready to bring in that timeline, let's go to my account again here. I'll show you how you do that. So let's go back into my testing narrative here. Click edit. How you'll add a timeline that you've already built then is by adding content reference. And again, there's a tutorial under resources on this too if you need to see it again, but add existing content. If you scroll down here, Life in the Holler is the timeline I already made. Make sure you click select content, and then there it is. Okay, so let's see that here. There it is. So Life in the Holler. So you can see here I've got, you know, this is my title and byline. And then I've got my featured media with captions. I've got dates. And then you can see it's just, you know, this is just kind of the tip of the iceberg of what you can do with this, but okay, great. There's Grandma. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and stop my recording here. Well, actually, I'll just go. It'll be like a cooking show. I've already made the narrative all the way through, so you can see what it looks like finished. And actually, let's just go ahead before the big reveal here. I'm going to scroll down and show you. So there's my page header. This is what the final product looks like in terms of all of the page elements. It took me to build that model I showed you earlier from start to finish. So we've got headers, asides, text, a breakout. Actually, I ended up using a breakout for this here because I wanted that image and that text to really stand out and be able to be side by side like that. And then you'll see this was my plan for this, but I ended up doing it a little bit differently. It's good to be flexible as you're bringing elements in. So here's where I embedded my story map in the text as I showed you. Okay. And here's the content reference that brought in my timeline. Okay. So let's take a look at this thing. Okay, so already saw all of this. And then here's that draft registration card. You know, having it in the center like that really emphasizes it. Here's the breakout with my grandfather Riley. Some more body text. And here's the story map that I made, placed into this narrative. Okay. Again, you can, you know, bring in other types of media as well and attach it. But this is just a really simple narrative, there's Mom, to kind of show you how geographically this can be a really cool way to present your content. Okay. And then under that, I've got my works cited, some links to some sources, and about an author or about the author. You can bring in an image there, what have you. Okay, so looking good here. So that's really all it is. That's all it really comes down to. I've got just one more slide to show you here. So final tips here, make sure you're saving often. Back up your work regularly. Saving also allows you to see how your design elements are presenting as you saw. Did you get the effect you wanted? You know, be flexible. It's great to have a plan when starting out, but sometimes you come across a new idea or design element that works even better. So be flexible. And then do be sure to follow up on this tutorial as needed with materials under our resources tab. So how-to guides on design and layout, finding, citing images and other media, timelines, story maps, etc. So yeah, good luck, have fun, experiment. Wait until you see what you made, and you can share it with family and friends. It's pretty cool. So yeah, go out there and create some awesome narratives, everyone.